Welcome back, amazing entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, to another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for creatives and photographers to design a business and life they love. Today's episode is an interview with an amazing copywriter, Nikki Krawczyk, and we are going to dive into copy. What the heck is copy and why the messaging is so important so that you can craft a message that not only attracts your ideal clients, but has them lining up to book you. Like those silly memes on Facebook, take all my money. She also includes what I think is one of the best content ideas for wedding photographers and other photographers, and how to talk about it, how to spin it in your copy, in your website, in your emails. So just a little nugget there. Listen for more. Today's review of the week is from Jay Pasick, and she says, Brooke is a great and knowledgeable host with a great laugh. That makes me a little self-conscious. Sorry. Continuing. Natalie was very insightful and had a lot of great ideas. I have recently read a book about affirmations, but I loved the way that Natalie turned fears into affirmations. I really appreciate all the knowledge that these ladies shared. I've already listened to this twice because there were so many great ideas. Thank you both. Thank you so much for your kind words. The reviews are always so much fun to read. For anyone wondering, she is referring to episode 2002 with Natalie Kita. So after today's episode, be sure to check out that one as well. All of the show notes for this and every episode can be found at www.businessstraightupodcast.com. Yes, I know it's long, but it's so worth it, I promise. If you are loving this content and business help, please go to iTunes and leave a review. I know it takes some time, takes a couple minutes out of your day, but it means so much to us and will help us narrow down this huge list of ideas that we have when we know what you need help with. So without further ado, let's talk with Nikki about copy and messaging and marketing. Oh my. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome, entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. I am so excited for today's interview and guest, the beautiful Nikki Krawczyk. She has some amazing insight to share when it comes to copy and writing and what the heck is that? And we just have so much to go over. You should see my list of questions. I'm so excited. This is something that tends to stump so many of my students. We are so focused on so many things that when we sit down to write, we're like, what the heck do I say now? So Nikki's going to walk us through that, which is amazing. Yeah. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Let's kind of give a little bit of a background about you. So tell me a little bit about your story, how you got to where you're at, and why you love teaching copy for business owners.
Yes. So my background is I've been a copywriter for 15 plus years, which sounds like a lot when you start to add it up.
Right.
I guess it kind of is. And like a billion years ago when I was in high school, my father was in marketing and he would bring home extra work. And so I learned copywriting that way. And none of us start out in our exact path. So I went to school for PR and didn't stick with PR, and then managed a health club for a while. And
wow.
Yeah, all kinds of, circuitous stuff. And I remember leaving the health club and going, what I'm going to do with my life. And my mom actually got me a book that was something like 6-figure writing secrets or something like that. And it was actually, bless my mother, but it was a very silly book. It was like, you need to get a fax machine to grow your business. Deeply unhelpful. but it reminded me that copywriting was a thing. And I kind of jumped back into it from there, and then started building my business. And then, I've worked with a lot of really cool companies. I've written for Hasbro and Adidas and TripAdvisor and TJ Maxx and Keurig, and just a lot of big companies.
Wow.
Harlequin romance novels.
Yes.
If you have ever read the back cover copy to The Firefighter's Secret Baby or Quarterback Daddy, then you've read my work. Just for copy, but still.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so, I've been working with these big businesses for quite a while. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, I actually started a company teaching people how to become professional copywriters, and kind of became a solopreneur in that way. And then also got into, just groups with other solopreneurs. And I was kind of, I wouldn't say surprised, but it was kind of eye-opening for me to see how much they didn't know about messaging. And as you and I know, messaging is so incredibly crucial to your business.
Yes.
So it really kind of felt like a calling to move, maybe not move all the way over, but to focus at least a portion of my business on working with solopreneurs, both writing for them, and then also I'm in the process of building a course for kind of my more DIY solopreneurs.
Yes, that's amazing. I have a weird question.
Yeah.
Did you have to read the romance novel to get the back?
Great question, right? They would send me a synopsis. Every once in a blue moon, they would send me the whole thing. And really, I would do what I assume people who read romance novels would do anyway. I would just flip to the dirty parts. Like, okay, I've got a good idea for what's happening in here, and then let's flip to the dirty parts. And then
That's amazing. I love that.
It did not pay a lot, but it was just such a riot to do the work that I did it for a good couple years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I never thought about, how you discover all these quote jobs that you never even knew existed.
Somebody does that. Yes. And
right?
I was one of them. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So funny. Mm-hmm.
So I know that some of my listeners will know, but I feel like this word is thrown around. And for a while, I didn't know what it was. So for anyone that is listening that is unfamiliar with the word, what exactly is copy and why is it so important?
Yes. A lot of people are very confused by it. And then there's also copywriting as in writing of copy. And then there's copywriting, which is like putting a copyright on a book or something like that. It's something totally different, legal. I don't know it at all. But copywriting is the writing of copy. And copy is words that are designed to sell or persuade. So they might literally be trying to get someone to buy a service or, purchase product. They might be trying to persuade you to sign up for an email list. They might be trying to persuade you to sign up for a webinar. They might be, the copy would even be the writing in a webinar if you have an end goal at the end of that webinar, if you want them to buy something. And it's even the broad definition of persuasion is even just trying to get people to think a certain way about you, or a company tries to get you to think a certain way about something. So that copy is designed to persuade or to sell, which is different from content. And maybe this is a little bit more information that you need, but I always think it's helpful. Mm-hmm. Content, like your blog posts, your videos that don't have like an end goal, something like that. They're designed, well, I guess they kind of always do, but they're designed to educate, to inspire, or to entertain. So that's what content is. And copy is the stuff that is really designed to sell and to persuade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that stuff is so important. I know that every time I see a commercial that's really well done, and I'm like, that is just amazing. Like Subaru has one right now that makes me cry all the time. And I don't drive a Subaru, but it's just so well done.
Yeah.
that I am amazed by the amount of copy and the amount of psychology that goes into all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complicated it's a complicated, I don't want to say industry, but it's complicated craft. There's
Yes.
a lot of art to it and a lot of science, and they kind of meet up in the middle, and when they meet up well, it's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I work with a lot of photographers, and
Mhm.
as photographers, we tend to rely primarily on imagery for our websites to
Mhm.
attract and book our ideal clients because we always want to think that someone books us just for our pictures. And like logically, we know that's not true, but that's what we like to think. And I
Yeah.
also teach SEO and can give a ton of reasons why that is not a good idea for SEO. But I would love to hear your take on it. Why is it a problem to rely primarily on imagery instead of words and copy to reach the people we want to work with?
So please don't get me wrong. Imagery, great design is very important. Is very important. People look to a website, whether it's a photographer's website or whether it's any entrepreneur's website, any business's website, and they look at it to see if it seems professional, to see if it seems reliable. If you get there and the pictures are terrible, you're going to immediately leave. Or if you get to the website and the design is weird, or it seems like it's got that kind of 1990s vibe to it, they're probably going to leave.
Yes.
Yes. So design and imagery are very important, but the messaging is so design and imagery is how people decide if you seem professional. And maybe they're potentially interested in working with you. But the messaging is how they decide whether or not they are interested in hearing more from you, whether or not they trust you, whether or not they're eventually going to make a purchase. You could have a website that was just copy, like literally just white page and copy. And if it's good copy, you can make a sale. But if you have a website that is, or a web page that's just images or just design, you can't you can't make a sale. You can't make a sale without explaining to people what you're offering, explaining to them why it matters to them, and asking them to take that action. So messaging is really crucial. And I think that one of the big mistakes that a lot of especially newer solopreneurs and entrepreneurs make is that they leave it for last.
Yes.
Or it kind of intimidates them. So they kind of like put it on the back burner, and they go, I'll deal with that later. And it's really one of the most important things, and probably one of the first things that needs to be dealt with.
Absolutely. I know that it is something that is so crucial for me. My about page is one of my number one converting pages.
Yeah.
And it's just a picture of me. It's not pictures I take. It's not anything fancy, but
Mhm.
it's the words that matter so much.
Yeah. Because once people look at your photos and they go, oh my God, all right, she's really talented, but what's it like to work with her? They go to your about page. And what they need to
Yes.
get from your about page is what is your general personality, what it would feel like to work with you. And on top of that, what makes you different from all of the other photographers out there? We're service professionals, so there are a ton of people who are offering more or less what we do in a different way and a different this and that kind of thing. But we all have a ton of competition, and part of what all of our about pages need to do is explain what makes us different. That USP, right? The unique selling proposition.
Yes.
What sets us apart? What do we bring to the table that nobody else does? And then also on top of that, for solopreneurs, or even I guess entrepreneurs, tiny little companies, it needs to really convey your brand voice and or personality if they're slightly different.
Yes.
There's a lot to pack in.
There is.
Yeah.
My husband is insanely conservative, which is funny given my specialty of photography. But I drop F-bombs and I talk in a way that he blushes. And so that's on my website. Not every other word, but every once in a while there's a bad word. And he always tells me, you can't say that in your business. I said, yes, I can, because when someone meets me and works with me, they're going to see it anyway. So I may as well just put it out there.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, part of another thing that copy does is it automatically helps your perfect target audience, your perfect customer self-select. So, you're going to have a broad range of people that come to your website, and some of them are going to be more conservative, and some of them are going to be the same way, dropping F-bombs, wild and crazy, probably much more even so than you are. And by going to your site and getting a feel for who you are and reading your messaging and understanding that, the people who are very conservative, and that's not their style, they're going to read your page and they're going to go, no, you know what, that's not really for me. But that's good. That's what you want to have happen, because what happens is that your perfect audience reads your messaging and goes, oh my gosh, yes, she is for me. Yes, I do connect with that. Let me get in touch with her, or let me sign up and find out more about her. So good copy also really helps you. Because let's say you didn't self-select, right? Or they didn't self-select. Let's say you kept your copy very kind of very bland, or not, or just non-specific, right? And so you get a whole bunch of people on your email list. Well, then you get a whole bunch of people, and I guess, yes, email is inexpensive, but you're still paying a couple of pennies for every subscriber. And if you've got 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 person list, and half of your subscribers are never going to work with you because your style is just so different from them, then you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and you're wasting your efforts trying to get these people to work with you later on down the line, when they should have never been on your list to begin with, because they're not right for you. They're right for some other fantastic photographer, and great, they'll find that fantastic photographer. But when you are really specific and really strategic with your copy, then you end up with the exact right people on your email list. And then the more they interact with you, the more they get excited about you and about working with you and what you have to offer.
Yes, that is so true. I know when we were looking to hire our wedding photographer, we had it down to 3. They all had amazing work. I knew them personally. I just adored them as people. But one of them I knew did not swear and was not okay with swearing. And so it just didn't work out. It's not that his work wasn't amazing. It's not that he's not a great guy, but I knew that he would be highly offended if someone said something like that. And so in the end, we did not choose him. And I know that he's okay with that, and I'm okay with it. And it worked out to be better for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, and it's this, obviously, as it extends far beyond swearing too. Just even, personality style. Some people are going to work with people who are, bubbly and bright and friendly. And some people are going to be looking for someone who is much more straightforward and I don't want to say stable, but we're all very stable. But just straightforward and kind of just less brash and less big personality. You know what I mean? They're going to be that they put a lot more trust in that, in someone who's just more kind of staid. And whether that's when they're looking for a photographer or a copywriter or, a business coach, a health coach, no matter what elements of your personality you put out there, you're going to help your audience self-select and find you and connect with you better.
Well, and people hire people, not businesses.
Yeah.
So and we've used the example of swearing, but you're right. It extends well beyond that. If you have someone that maybe doesn't have kids, maybe they would relate to someone that doesn't have kids, whereas moms might relate to each other, or dads might relate to each other. There are things that we see in the businesses that we hire that make us want to say, me too.
Yeah.
That we can relate to. And swearing is just one of many examples where that is the case.
Well, and when people say me too, or when they get to a website and they go, oh, I really like her, or oh, I really like him, there's people buy it. people say it again and again and again, but it's really true. People buy from people they like. Now, it's not just people they like, but that's kind of the beginning of the process. When they get to a website, or, they check out your Facebook page, or you check out their Instagram, they look a little bit and they go, I kind of like her. Then they go to your website and they sign up to hear more. And then throughout the course of a series of emails, they like you more and more. They trust you more and more. They, if you're putting good copy in your emails, then they learn to, they understand your expertise more and more. They understand how you can help them more and more. It's really building a relationship. And the only way that you can build a real relationship, and by the way, the kind of relationship that converts to a lot of sales, is by being really conscious about the copy that you're putting out there, not just in terms of the actual messaging itself, like what am I saying, but how I'm saying it, when I'm saying it, what else am I saying? You can't just send out a series of emails that are like, oh my gosh, it's so hot in Boston today. I can't believe I had to flip on the air conditioning. That's fine. And that's, I guess, part of how a relationship is built. But if you send out a bunch of emails like that, people are going to unsubscribe because they're not getting anything out of it,
Yes.
No.
Absolutely. So you brought up the somewhat dirty word of sales.
Yes. Yeah.
So many people shy away from that. They think that it's a bad thing. But talk to me a little bit about why selling isn't really even required when you're able to authentically connect with your ideal audience.
So what I tell people is that if you are selling, if you're capital S selling, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is hey, buy now, purchase now, only 10 minutes left, this kind of thing. And not that you can't have urgency, we'll get into that in a second, but like the force, the used car salesman, all that kind of stuff, those stereotypes that make us go, oh, I don't think I want to sell. Oh, that's scary for me. Oh, it's not authentic. Oh, it's not. And no, pushing people to sell is not authentic. And frankly, by the way, pushing people to sell doesn't work. It just doesn't. You'll always get probably some people, but you get somebody to buy anything. You just won't get a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But the way to really make sales is to connect people who have a need with the exact right person for that need. And the way you connect them is by building that authentic relationship, by getting to them to your website. And I think one of the easiest and most efficient ways to do it is by creating what I call a customer love sequence, where you get people to sign up for your email list. And then through a series of really targeted strategic emails, but also still infused with your personality, but also infused with educational elements. So people love these emails and they get excited about these emails. You end up essentially nurturing that relationship so that by the end of the email funnel, they like you, they trust you, they know you're an expert, they know you're the one they want to work with, so that for you, by the end of this email funnel, it's not so much buy, you have to buy now, you've only got 10 minutes left, so much as, making a suggestion to purchase, and even more like fielding requests to purchase. I have clients who will write back, oh my God, I'm surprised I have so many emails from people like before the sequence is finished saying, I love this, I'm so excited, when can I buy it? And that's what you want. That's the fielding requests from a legion of excited fans. That's the goal. The excited fans, excited friends,
Yes.
And that's how the process should be. And that's not only how you want it to be, but it's how your target audience wants it to be too. They don't want to be sold at. They don't want to be pushed. They want to be nurtured. They want to learn. They want to like you. And then they want to understand how what you have to offer is the perfect solution for them. It's like this beautiful, happy marriage by the end of it,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you talked about the educational aspect. And I feel like so many small businesses, especially service-based businesses, don't offer that.
Yeah.
And I work with my students a lot about serving their audience. What can you do to add value to someone's day?
Mm-hmm.
And to add that into an email or your copy on your website, that is so important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be really hard to know what to say to really connect with those dream clients. So how do we get to the heart of what they want and need so that we can send them that information that makes them go, yes, take my money. I don't care what day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because if you're sending them things that aren't providing value, that aren't benefiting them in any way, they're either just going to stop reading your emails, or they're going to unsubscribe. And all that effort you put to get that person on your list will be all for naught. So you have to be, in each email you send them, you have to be providing them value in some way. And generally, the easiest way to do that is to provide them some kind of education. It could just be a little tip. It could be a full mini training, but it has to be something that they go, oh, wow, this is great. Where even if they open up, they skim through the email, they go, oh, I have to save that to check it later. You want to be in their inbox, and you want to stay in their inbox. And it's really tricky for people to go, well, how much do I give away? I don't want to give away everything I have. And no, you want them to hire you for something down the line. You don't want to give away everything you have. So it's definitely walking a fine line, and it really does differ from business to business. But say for a photography session, let's say, they're on your list, so you know they're interested in photography. You could send them tips about how to prep for a session, not even just a session with you, just how to prep for a session in general. Because at this point in the email relationship, there's no expectation of they're going to work with you. It's hey, you know what? We're just getting to know each other. Sounds like you want to do this. Here's what you should know. Here's how to prep for a session, or, and here's an even broader range too. Like, oh, here are, I'm listing these things out and thinking, oh, I'd really like to know this. Here are ways you should dress for a session, whether it's an actual photography session or whether you're taking selfies, like you don't want to wear this kind of pattern, or you don't want to wear this color or this, if you're taking a selfie for Instagram, this kind of background works. And even if it's not directly, if you're a photographer, if you take pictures of people, even if you do, corporate photos or boudoir photos or wedding photos for that matter. But if you can show them that you are an expert, if you say, I take boudoir photos, but if you're at home and you're taking photos for Instagram and you want to look really good, here are tips that you need to know. You need to be lit this way. Try a brick wall backdrop, that kind of thing. It establishes your broader expertise anyway. So they're learning from you, which is a value. But anytime that you teach them something they didn't know, they go, oh, she knows what she's doing. So I'm going to keep watching for her emails. I'm going to keep reading for her emails, and I'm going to keep being engaged. And every time that happens, they go, oh, she really knows what she's talking about. Oh yeah, she's an expert. She's an expert. And that's what you want them to be thinking and to be feeling, to value you, to value what you give them, and then also to value you as a professional.
Yeah. So many entrepreneurs are afraid to share that information. They think that it devalues what they do, and it's really the opposite. It positions you as the expert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, there's no way that any of us could give away everything that we know. We all have years and years of experience and training, and heck, even if you just have like a couple months of experience and training, if you can do it professionally and people hire you to do it, way more than you could possibly give away in, a 7 email series or a 2-minute video on YouTube, something like that. And plus, it just gets people more excited to hear more about what you have to say. And when you give them a hint of what you know, nobody thinks, oh, that's all she knows. Everyone understands that that's just a hint of what you know, a hint of the whole picture,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. One thing that I have found as well is to share your why as well as the how, because I can tell you how to take a good selfie, but if I tell you why you should take that good selfie because it'll make you feel amazing, my
Yeah.
clients really, really relate to that and they want to hear that information.
Yeah, that's really smart. That's really smart. It's one of the things that I talk about with the people that I teach to become copywriters, and then one of the things that I go through with my clients is you need to be focused on the benefit, not just what are they going to get out of this, but why does it benefit them? What am I going to get out of that? And if it isn't immediately evident, why do I want to get that out of it? You know, like,
Yes.
so it's exactly what you're saying there. It's really focusing on, and that's another thing too, is to really focus on the person who's receiving the email, or the person who's coming to your website, or the person who's consuming whatever you're putting out there. Because it's really easy, especially when you're a one-person company, to be sitting at your kitchen table, or maybe we've been in an office, good for you, and to get turned inward and to think, all right, what do I have to say, and what do I have to do to get them to the next step, and to forget that you're communicating with someone else, and that what you want comes second to what they want. If you want to keep these people engaged, and if you want to create a real relationship with them, and if you want to get to the point where they eventually are just dying to purchase from you, you need to stay focused on what they want to get out of this, and what they need.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to kind of skip back for just a sec because I loved what you said about the why behind the end result, because I mean, duh, we know what the end result is.
Yeah.
So if I want to hire, I don't know, let's say a painter to come in and paint my office, a service-based person.
Yeah.
And I know that the end result is that my office will be painted, right? Duh.
It's open, right?
But what's the value behind that?
Mm-hmm.
Why does that matter?
Yeah.
Why does an attention to detail in that painting matter? Because it's not gonna drive me nuts when I'm sitting in my office thinking, wow, I need to fix that. You have to think of all of those little whys behind the end result, because the end result is a duh. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And what it's going to mean to that person. And you won't necessarily be able to use all of these kind of deeper benefits in your copy, but when you paint an office, you feel like more of a professional. When you go in, when you have like old wallpaper coming off the walls from the last people who owned your house, but when you go in and you have your new freshly painted office, you feel like the kind of professional that you are aspiring to be, or maybe that you already are, but you don't treat yourself like. It's
Yes.
Taking respecting yourself as a professional, and really believing in yourself. It just you have your benefits, and then you can get deeper and deeper and deeper. And in some scenarios, depending kind of on the service, but you can get benefits that are like, oh my God, that's it. That like hits me in the heart. I need this,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That was such a weird example. I don't know why I used that example.
But that's the thing, is that there are professional photographers that need to be thinking about this, but there are people who paint offices that need to be thinking about this. There aren't there isn't anyone in any type of business that shouldn't be thinking about these things and trying to incorporate it into their messaging at all different touch points. There's nobody that's exempt from this.
Yes. And to know
Mm-hmm.
that what you do is not necessarily just about that end result, that it's about the values behind it and the why behind it. That is so important to think about.
And the why behind it for them, and also the why behind it for you. I mean, this gets a little bit back into the About Us page, or About Me page, but your big why do you do this? Why did you get into this business? And all of that kind of stuff just helps create that connection. So the why for them and the why for you, and conveying all of it.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's so important. Something we miss so often.
Yeah, I agree.
So What kinds of advice do you hear from some of the online marketing gurus that's completely wrong? And you're like, why would you even say
You do that. Don't tell people that. Yeah.
that?
One of my, I was going to say favorites, but favorites is not the right word. One of the ones that makes me crazy is these companies, and there's some big ones that are like, oh, sign up and download our email templates or download our templates for this or download, here's a 7 email funnel to get people to do XYZ. And I know why they do. They do it because people sign up for them and then they have their email address. Because people are like, oh, a template. Yeah, then I won't have to write it or I won't have to hire someone to write it. I'll just put in the template and it'll work. And it just doesn't. It doesn't. Because number one, you're missing out on all of your personality. If you're using someone else's template, where are your messages? Where are the things that you want to say? And not just your personality, but literally your messages. What are you trying to say to these people? You can't just, I hate the term email funnel because it has this idea of the big, it reminds me of that big ass selling of literally taking a bunch of people and just packing them into a funnel, whether they want to be there or not, pushing them on through. And when you have a template like that, you miss out on all of the important things that happen when you build an email sequence, all of the strategy and all of your unique messaging and all of the value that you would have put in there. And yes, you'll probably get a couple people to buy, but like I was saying, you could send out an email saying, click here, and someone would buy,
Yes.
And then plus two, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I'm on a lot of email lists, and I'll get an email and, I'll open it up and read it through and go, oh, okay, interesting. I'm not interested in that. And then, a day or two later, I'll open it up from someone else, read the email and go, why does this sound familiar? Wait, is this the same? No, it's a different person. It's the same people, but they bought from this big company and they,
oh my gosh,
template. So they just plugged it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've seen that with sales pages too. There's somebody, I don't know who's selling it, but there's somebody selling some system about like, sell them a $5.99 ebook and then upsell them into this. And the sales page, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you will. The sales page looks exactly the same. The copy is almost exactly the same. And it's all pushing them down that same funnel. And when you do that kind of thing, you miss out on all the keys that make you and your business and basically miss out everything else we've been talking about in this conversation. Literally everything else,
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. There are a few services that market blog templates for blog posts to photographers.
Yeah.
And I get on my soapbox, I don't know, once every few months or so. And I'm like, do not buy, I'm all for templates.
Yeah.
Don't recreate the wheel if you don't have to. But when it comes to what you're saying to your audience, it needs to be authentically you. You cannot repeat this stuff over and over again because not only are you trying to stand out from a crowd to begin with, you've just put yourself back in the crowd.
Yeah. And there are plenty of other ways to save yourself time. I mean, when you take the time and you create a really good, a customer love sequence, some design to really get people from, oh, I kind of know her to, oh my God, I love her, I can't wait to buy from her. When you take the time to create that, you put it into your email system, you set it on, and then it runs as long as you want it to while you sleep. And when it's really good, your conversion rates are high. And that's where you need to be looking to save time, looking to automate your really good stuff, create really good stuff, and then figure out ways to automate it. Email is amazing. And the fact that we have so many autoresponders and so many different pathways, fabulous.
There's so many options. I agree completely. I feel like templates I'm all for templates. I use them. I work with them, but you cannot replace the words and the messaging that you need to get out there. It's just not going to work.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, you might as well just replace yourself in your business. There's no you being in charge of that business. You just become an affiliate for whatever it is they're selling, because that's essentially what you're doing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, how can you tell the difference between great messaging and so-so messaging?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first thing I think is, we've been talking a lot about benefit, and I think probably people get sick of me hammering on it so much, but it is so, and there's so many times that you get to a website or you get an email and it's missing. There are new startups, like really big, well-funded startups. You get to their webpage and you go, I don't understand what you do. Or I understand what you do, but why do I care? What would that do for me? And people sending out emails saying, hey, come and join us in our new Facebook group. It's going to be great. Yay, super fun. We already have 25,000 people in there. Awesome. Okay, why? Why would I do that? I'm glad that you're excited about it, but why should I be excited about it? So messaging that's missing, and it's when you're writing it yourself or when you're focused on your own stuff, it's really hard. It's easy, I should say. It's really easy to miss that, to be like, oh my gosh, it sounds really good. And I have this kind of clever line here. And I say this, which sounds like my personality. And you wonder why you send out this email and there's no, your conversion rate is 0.0001. Oftentimes more than not, it's because you're missing the reason. You're asking them to do something, but you're missing the reason that they should do it and what they're going to get out of it. Not just your reason, but their reason for doing it. Yeah. And I think too, there's that element of talking to yourself instead of talking to your customer. When you're sitting down and writing an email, you can be like, oh yeah, this is really fun. I'm really enjoying it. But you're not talking to yourself, and you can write it in that kind of conversational tone. Absolutely can. But you need to be talking to the person you're sending the email to, those 1,000, 10,000, 30,000 people you're sending the email to. And you also need to be sure that you're giving them a next step to take. There needs to be some call to action in every outreach moment, every email, every video, every webinar, anything you do. There needs to be some next step for them to take, because that's how relationships are built. You do something, they do something. You do something, they do something. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be you email them, they email you back, but you email them and say, hey, I also, give them some message. Hey, I also have this blog post that goes deeper into it. You might find it more interesting. Click here. And they do. It's a give and take of actions. So a call to action shouldn't just happen when you're trying to sell people on something. You need to get them used to taking action throughout the relationship.
That call to action is so important. I actually wrote an article a while back that went into the science behind it and the psychology.
Yeah.
And I feel like my eyes crossed a little bit in writing it, but it is so important. And we kind of blow that off in a lot of ways, and emails and websites and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When people forget that you're building a relationship and they think, oh, I'm just sending out an email because I want to tell them about this. Okay, well, give them a way to interact with you. Give them a way to, if they get your email and go, oh, it's really interesting. I'd like to know more about that. Or even just like, oh, I'd like to see, I forget, it's been a while since I've gotten an email from her. What does she do again? Give them a way to find that out. Give them a way to interact more with you.
Absolutely. One thing that I put into my emails a lot, and people ask me why all the time, but hit reply and let me know blank.
Why?
Because then all they do is reply, and usually they just send me one sentence. It's not like it's a book to read, but it's so much fun. And then we're actually talking.
Yes.
And when you have a smaller audience and you're not at the 500,000 people in your list, you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And even I would say, even if you have a 100,000 person list, you can still send that out. People don't necessarily expect people send emails and they may forget they've sent them. They, through their conscious mind, forgets, and their subconscious has not forgotten that they've sent it. If you can't get every single person, that's fine, but asking them to reply, taking them from that place of like a passive receiver to these emails to an active participant of actually sending you an email back and acknowledging that you are a human being at the other side of that computer is huge. Yeah, yes. Completely agree. Yeah, but hit reply, what did you think about this? Or has this ever happened to you? Yeah, that's a big one. And so many people don't even know about it.
And it's so easy.
And it's not, and the thing is too, is that not everybody does it. I think some people
No.
are afraid to put in their emails because they're like, well, I have 1,000-person list. If I send it out and all 1,000 people email back to you, like, they're not gonna. I hate to
No.
burst your bubble, but that's not gonna happen. But those who do will be extra engaged, and even those who don't hit the reply on the email, it's still a reminder that there's a human being behind the computer. Like I never hit the reply on the email. Never do. It's just, I don't know, my personality. I'm much more of a lurker. Even in Facebook groups, I'm like, every once in a while I'll pipe in with some advice, but I'm a lurker. But every time you see that, the hit reply at the bottom of this email, it's a reminder that these aren't, I mean, they might be auto-generated in the sense that they're an autoresponder, but it's a reminder that a human sent these emails. A human put this all together. A human is the person behind this website, these services. And it's really important to remind people of that.
And isn't that what we kind of need in our world in general? Is a little bit of humanity behind the keyboard?
Yes, exactly. To feel like you're not just getting emails from somewhere in space. When you have a problem or when you have a frustration with whatever it is in your life, with whatever for your business, there is a woman sitting at home and maybe she wants to have boudoir photos taken for her husband's birthday, her spouse's or her partner's birthday, but there is also probably a woman sitting at home who's going, it's been so long since I felt really attractive, and I just, I didn't fit my jeans this morning, and I just I look in the mirror, and who needs what you have to offer? And when you can be a human and connect with her and go, hey, I have this. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary for a lot of my clients when they first try it. And I think I was listening to one of your podcasts and you said you send an email the night before saying, don't be afraid and don't cancel. Because you just imagine people are going, oh, this seemed like a really good idea until the night before.
Yes.
But yeah, when you really take the time to connect and to think about the benefit and to think about the deep benefit, there are people that you are sending your email to, or people who find your website, or people who stumble across you, who feel lighter, who feel connected, who think, oh, there's someone who gets me. This might be the solution to my problem. And you could very well be the perfect solution to their problem. You could offer them something that they'd never considered, or that solves what they need. We can all, if we're selling something worthwhile, we can all be life changes. We can all help people in ways we can't even comprehend. The only way you can do that is by being authentic and by opening yourself up and offering yourself out there. You don't have to be, completely transparent. Oh, last night I had this terrible fight with my husband again. You don't have to go too deep. You don't have to give them everything you are.
Yes.
But by opening yourself up and being true and honest with who you are, what you offer, and when applicable, some of the things that you too have struggled with. And when I say you, I mean all of us. That's how you create these real connections. And that's how someone opens up their inbox, sees a message from you and goes, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so excited to get another message from her. I can't wait to read it. And she opens it and goes, oh my God, I love this. I want to work with her. It's that authenticity is so overused, but it's really heart-centered, heart-connected, but it's really what you have to be. Is you have to kind of open your chest and go, look, here, I'm going to connect with you. And it seems like when you think email, you think like, I don't know, wires and technology and all that kind of thing. Not wires, but technology. And email and our websites and webinars even, they can absolutely be vehicles for creating that kind of authentic connection, and the authentic connection that we want and that our would-be customers crave.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to kind of go back to something too, is So many people tell me, well, they're not ready for me just yet. And I have so many women that are not ready to take the plunge when it comes to boudoir photography. But the fact that I am reaching out to them and being authentic and connecting with them
Yeah.
beforehand, I've had people that stalk me for 3 years before they book with me.
Yeah.
And I have known so many people that aren't even engaged, but they're looking at wedding photographers just because it's pretty and they want a little bit of that in their world.
Yeah.
And then when they do get engaged, guess where they go?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I wish it weren't this way, but people don't buy on our schedules. They don't buy
No.
when we want them to buy, and we can encourage people. We can encourage the people who are meant to buy at that time by, giving them deadlines, that kind of thing, depending on how your business is structured. And that can be really useful. But there are people who are just they're not at the place in their life to purchase, but they still want to know the stuff that and they still want to follow you. And like you said, I've done it and you probably have too. You're following people and all of a sudden you go, oh, you know what? I think now is the time for me to take that course, or now is the time for me to book that session, or now is the time for me to do that. But if you're not nurturing that relationship the whole time, if you send them you send them a welcome email and a hey, this is who I am, and a coupon, and then don't send them anything else, they'll forget about you. You don't build that relationship. And I think that's something a lot of people forget too, is that you have to keep going.
That's hard.
Mm-hmm. It is. It absolutely is.
That consistency is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have to be consistent, because if you don't send something at least every other week, even if it's a little something, even if it's a, hey, here's a blog post from my archives or whatever, here's a photo shoot I took and here's why it went so well, or it's a little tip for you. People forget about you. I mean, how many emails do you get? And if you see Ann Taylor, you're like, wait a minute, I know that. Ann Thomas. If you see Ann Thomas in your mailbox, if you signed up for it 2 weeks ago, a month ago, you have no idea who that is. And you're probably not going to open it, and you'll eventually delete it. You have to be consistent.
I love that. I'm going to I feel like I keep going backwards.
Yeah, I can talk around.
You just
clearly.
You just brought something up though that I think is an amazing idea of repurposing your old blog posts and sharing why this shoot looks the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have, just speaking to wedding photographers, if you have this amazing engagement session that is like one of your most favorite, it looks amazing, why was it so good? Tell people that, because then you're going to have people that not only want to work with you, but again, it's that self-selection of, ooh, they hiked 4 miles. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's your own testimonial, but it's also educational. It's a case study, I guess is a better way of putting it. It's a case study, which gets them to go, oh God, she's so good. Look what she does. But it's also educational. This is how they got that result. And hey, if this is a picture you like, save this email. And so you can bring it as samples when you're talking with your own wedding photographer, which could be me,
Yes.
I was, there was somebody else who did a podcast the other day. Who was it? It was Amy Porterfield, and she did her, it was a half-hour session. It was her $1 million student spotlight. And I absolutely listened to it, and it was very good. And she taught, her student talked about how she built her business, which was very educational. But the whole thing was, this woman's making $1 million because she's working with Amy Porterfield. You know what I mean? Because she took some of Amy's courses, and you go, all right, this is an excellent strategy. And it's that same kind of thing, is repurposing the stuff that you have already done and using it to prove, using it to educate people, to give them value, I should say, is probably a better way of saying it, but also prove how damn good you are at what you do.
Yes. Yes. And that could also happen for challenging circumstances too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a wedding in the mountains and all of a sudden this huge storm blows in. Well, what the hell are we going to do now that it's raining and crazy? Mm-hmm. Talk about that and talk about look, not only did we get these amazing photos still, but I was able to help them in this way, things like that. And educational. If rain is forecast for your wedding day, this is what you can look at.
Yeah, and talk about establishing your expertise. Because nobody knows what's going to happen with the weather, but it shows that you are a pro. No matter what happens, you've got this. You don't have to.
Yes.
One less thing for the bride to have to worry about. Oh, what if this happens? Or my photo's going to turn out okay? Don't worry. You hired me. I can do anything at any time and get you the best photos of your life. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. I'm going to go back again. Sorry. When we were talking about writing email sequences, and this applies to your website as well.
Yeah.
You said, stop talking to yourself, talk to your audience. And I feel like there's another thing that I want to kind of address there is stop talking to your colleagues.
Yeah.
Stop talking to your industry.
Yeah.
Stop talking to people who do the same work as you and talk to your clients.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas or takes on that?
Yeah. Well, it's really easy. Even if you're a solopreneur, even if you're a newer entrepreneur, you're probably in a whole bunch of Facebook groups and you're learning a whole bunch of stuff and people are throwing around the same wording. But that wording might not necessarily be wording that your target audience is going to understand. Like copywriting, for example, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. A lot of people don't understand copywriting. And my clients tend to be a little bit more established in their businesses, just because they already know that they value copywriting and they understand how important it is, and they understand how important it is to actually hire someone who knows how to do it at an expert level. But even still, on my own website, I use the term messaging a lot as well. Because people know what messaging means. If they're a little bit, because I'm sure there are still some high-level solopreneurs, high-level entrepreneurs who are kind of iffy on what copywriting means. So you have to really evaluate your messaging from where your ideal customer is sitting, from their shoes. And are you using words that they're going to completely understand? And there's also a lot of vague talk, especially in like the coaching arena. We'll get your mindset right. We'll get your, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yes.
What exactly are you going to do to get my mindset right? And you don't necessarily have to tell them, well, we're going to have this call, and we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But when you use terms that are thrown around a lot, and just because you hear it a lot in Facebook groups, or you hear it, maybe your business coach uses it or something like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that your target audience is going to understand that. And make sure you understand it too. If you're selling me on a mindset changing session, what is that? Instead of telling me it's going to be a mindset changing session, what is my end result? What is my benefit? What's going to happen for me? What do I get out of it? So
what is that transformation?
Yes, exactly. We're having a mindset session so that what? So that you won't be afraid to XYZ, or so that you'll feel da 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 da. You're completely right. It's so easy to mimic the stuff that you see out there, or to even not necessarily consciously use the words that you hear a lot in these Facebook groups of peers or meetups of peers, instead of what your target audience is actually talking about. And the easiest way to find out what words your target audience is using is to ask them. Send out an email to your if you have an email list, send out an email to your list and say, what are you finding most frustrating about XYZ? And ask it in a couple of different ways so you get a couple of different kinds of answers. And same thing if you are in, non-business Facebook groups. If you're in groups that your target audience is in, ask those same questions. And if you have your own Facebook group of your core target audience, ask them these questions and really pay attention to the words that they use. You don't need to, if they say, God, I felt so bloated this morning. I just felt so blah, or something like that. If you're hearing that a lot, use those words, because those words that your target audience connects with, and it makes them understand that you understand them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really, if you're going to mimic something that you see, I mean, it's one thing to look at a process, but if you're going to mimic the words,
Yeah.
you're losing that authenticity to begin with. And again, it's like the email templates, you're right back in the crowd.
Exactly. Well, and you've already got so much competition that looks the same. There's so many people, people use the same photographers, or people go, oh my gosh, I like that pose, I want that for my site, or oh, I love that template for the website, I want that for mine. So everybody starts to look the same. And if you start to sound the same too, I think people think that, oh, if I sound the same, I love her and her work, or him and his work, whatever. If I sound just like her, I'll get business just like her. Or if I sound just like her, if people find both of us, they'll pick one of us, and then I have a 50% chance of getting the business. And that's not how it works.
No.
You and I both get that if they are confused, they see two people who look exactly the same, they're not going to buy from either of you. They'll go find somebody else who they can understand what makes them different and what sets them apart. You're not going to get 50% of the work you're going to get, or 50% of the clientele. You're going to get none of it.
Yes, that is so true.
Yeah.
I have had my website just copied and pasted. People have just copied, and yes, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I'm like, you can't copy me.
Yeah.
You can't.
Best of to you.
Yeah, you just can't.
Yeah.
You have your own expertise. You have your own awesome, amazing sauce, secret sauce, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So use it, embrace it, and go for it.
Yeah. Because if you try to copy someone, and I don't mean to be flippant about it, because it is really frustrating when you have your stuff. And I know we both know lots of people that's happened to, that people come across your website or your wording or whatever, and they like it and they take it. But if it's not connected to their brand, it's not generally something you have to worry about. And if they knock it off, they're not going to knock it off half as well as you did it originally. And if that's all that they're capable of is like knocking stuff off, then they're not going to be successful anyway. If they think that that's how to be successful as a business, good luck to them,
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I made a list of fun questions recently that I want to ask that are not really related to what we're talking about, but I love them. So I'm going to ask one, and I want to know, what is the best decision you've ever made?
Best decision I've ever made. Great question. I have to say, I really love my life. And I think that is based on a lot of decisions and taking a lot of calculated risks. I've been on staff at a lot of different jobs, not a lot, but I've been on staff several times, and I will hit the place where I go, you know what, it's time to quit. And quitting is very scary. It's very scary to go, well, I don't really have a ton of freelance clients lined up, but let's give it a shot. And it always opens me up for new things. Or my boyfriend and I have started, a couple of years ago, we've started traveling for like 6 months of the year. And luckily we both have the kinds of jobs where we can do work and be completely 100% available for our clients, but we can be around the world. And the first time we did it, I was like I've dreamed of doing this, but should I do this? And just kind of stepping out of that comfort zone is what makes your life interesting and exciting. Yeah. So those are probably my big ones.
That's amazing. I think that the things that stretch us the most and make us the most uncomfortable are the things that not only grow our lives the most, but they're the most fun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the stuff that you're most going, I don't know if I should, that tends to be, it's a big paraphrasing from Stephen Pressfield's War of Art, but like the stuff where you feel the resistance, where you go, I don't know, let me just put that off. That tends to like point you direct north to where you actually really should be going.
Yes, but it's hard to get past that. It's hard to, one of my business coaches years ago used to say, your brain is an asshole. And it tries to talk you out of all the best things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why don't we just stay here in this tiny, quiet little room? Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I have several notes of all my colored pens. It's just such an important subject that so many people skip over and don't really pay attention to. So tell my listeners and anyone listening where they can find you, where can they get more information. And actually in that same kind of question circumstance. I want to know, photographers ask me all the time if I know someone that writes blog posts because they want to outsource that.
Yeah. So you cut off just a little bit there, so stop me if I'm going the wrong direction. But yeah, people can find me at www.copyforsolopreneurs.com and on Facebook as well. And I'm at like Nicki Copy, Nicki Copy on Instagram and on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But if they're out on the web, definitely pop by the website, Copy for Solopreneurs, because I have a couple of freebies that I've put together just to kind of make some of the more tedious copywriting tasks mindless for you. Plug and play stuff. Normally, I don't use templates, but when you're responding to an email where someone's like, "Can I pick your brain?" Don't spend 2 hours thinking about it. Just copy it and send it to them.
Yeah.
To derail your day, let me do that part for you.
Yes.
Yes, but so I actually don't write blog posts. That's more kind of what we were talking at the beginning. That tends to fall more in the content vein. But I tend to focus more on higher level messaging, and then email sequences, those customer lab sequences, and then also webinars and the follow-ups from webinars, follow-up sequences from webinars. So kind of the sequence all the way along to the full like selling selling machine. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I know that there are several people that just don't enjoy writing. And I do know of some ghostwriters that they'll pick up someone's style from a few posts very, very well.
Yeah.
But it is definitely an art.
It is. Be careful where you try to find those people too. I think you don't want to, we all want to get services for as cheap as we can, but you need to make sure that you're getting the quality aspect of it as well. So
especially with that messaging, which we've talked about, is so important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with blog posts, there are people who are like, "Oh, I'll do it for you for $5 a blog post." If you pay $5 a blog post, you're going to get exactly what you would expect to get for $5 a blog post.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Nicki. I so appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions for Nicki, we will be posting her website and freebies in the show notes, which can always be found for this episode and past episodes at www.businessstraightedup.com/podcast. And I can't wait to hear more from you. And Nicki and I were talking before we started recording that we're going to a conference in October.
We're going to meet in person.
Yeah, we're going to have some wine and chill. And I don't even know what that means, but I'm sure it will be amazing because those conversations always are.
Yeah, completely agreed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being here. And for all of my listeners, you amazing entrepreneurs, if you loved this episode like I did, I would love it if you would head over to iTunes, leave a review, because we want to know what you think and we want to know what you need more of, what you need help with, and it helps us prepare for future episodes as well. So if you can head over to iTunes, I know it takes a couple minutes, but we so appreciate it. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Thanks so much, Nicki.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.